Welcome to another edition of the It's Cavalier podcast powered by Mellow Seltzer. Go out and get you some. Ladies and gentlemen, the link is in the description. Tonight, our Cleveland Cavaliers took on the Memphis Grizzlies in a matchup that featured two of the potential Defensive Player of the Year finalists. That being, of course, Jaren Jackson Jr. or Triple J for short, and our very own Evan Mobley. And apparently, Mobley said that the possibility of winning Defensive Player of the Year has definitely been on his mind. And we saw that play out tonight. As much as players will try and tell you that these awards ultimately don't matter in the grand scheme of things, and we know they don't, right? At the end of the day, we know what everybody wants. They always end up saying they prefer team success. I think at some level they do care, though, and I appreciate when some of them will willingly admit as much, and Mobley has done that. I say, why not both? And with Wemby down for the count, the award is wide open, certainly. Now, on the season, Mobley is limiting his opponents to 43.7% from the field, to Jaren Jackson Jr.'s 40.9% conversely. Among players with at least 700 field goals defended, these are fourth and first, respectively. So these two guys are some of the best players in the NBA at what they do on the defensive end. And you saw both of them make plays tonight. Over his last 5 games, Mobley has limited opponents to 36.4%, including 21.1% from range. He's been locked in. That is, of course, not including tonight. Jackson Jr. has held his opponents to 45.1%. Both are obviously making a push for that Defensive Player of the Year, but I got to give Mobley the edge. He's been the more efficient defender. He doesn't foul as much. So suffice it to say that I was really, really excited about tonight's matchup. And the game got kicked off with an interesting twist, right? Darius Garland, as expected, was ruled out after suffering a hip contusion, if I'm not mistaken, against the New York Knicks. That wasn't really that surprising. The surprising part was Isaac Okoro drawing the start at point guard, a position that he's never logged more than 3% of his minutes at in any season of his career so far. And look, I know that was basically a nominal start, as Donovan Mitchell would end up usurping most of the ball handling duties, handling the rock most of the time. But it's still awesome to see Isaac get that opportunity, because in my eyes, he's still somewhat of an underrated ball handler. He's just been made to be an off-ball option in his time here in Cleveland, with so many good ball handlers on the roster. And on the other hand, we got good news, as Jarrett Allen was not ruled out. He was questionable entering the game, which was great, because after he left that Knicks game and had x-rays and an MRI done, I really wasn't sure if he would end up playing tonight, but he did. And I can certainly appreciate that, given the production that he gave the Cavaliers. This man absolutely balled out tonight. 13 points, 10 rebounds, another double-double for him, a very efficient 6 of 8 from the field. And right off the bat, you could tell that the offensive flow was just a bit off, as expected, right? With no DG there to conduct the offense. But Isaac, at the very least, did handle a little early, and I appreciated the pressure that he put on the defense with a few early dribble drives, one of which resulted in free throws. But Donovan Mitchell, right? Donovan Mitchell was more than ready to carry the offensive load, as he scored 12 of the Cavs' first 21 points and would end up finishing the game with 33 points and 6 assists. The two sequences that stick out the most to me, at least from an offensive standpoint, are when he floored Jalen Wells, or maybe it's more accurate to say Wells tripped over Mitchell as he was using Jarrett Allen's screen, and the other was a really acrobatic finish at the 4:51 mark that forced a Grizzlies timeout in that first quarter. Conversely, right, Ja Morant did not have the best game. The stat line for him will read 21 points, 2 rebounds, 10 assists, 6 of 13 from the field. I think they said he set a Grizzlies franchise record for games with 10 assists on the season. But the stat sheet is mighty deceiving. This is one of those games where you just kind of have to watch with your eyeballs and let that do most of the work for you, because Ja Morant actually had to work for everything that he got tonight. And I understand this dude is a superstar caliber player when he is on, but the Cavaliers absolutely made him work for everything that he got. Now, to the guys that you all really want to hear about, right? Ty fucking Jerome. Ty Jerome has having a historic season, it feels like. And I know the numbers, there are numbers to back this up. We can go to B-Ball Index here in just a moment, but this man is as efficient as they come. He just does things, in my eyes, that we have not seen in a very long time. Ty Jerome would end up scoring 26 points tonight. I think I have his shot chart and everything listed here. Let me pull that up real quick. But he was absolutely phenomenal tonight. 26 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, was a very efficient 9 of 16 from the field, which is 56.3%, 3 of 7 from 3-point range, that's 42.9%, and 5 of 6 from the charity stripe, of course, which is good for 83.3%. Now, on the right-hand side, you can see the shot chart telling you where he took those attempts from, and it is basically all in the painted area with a couple of shots above the breaks that went in. This dude, his use of the floater is godlike out there. And I know that might be sacrilege. That might be pouring it on a little bit too thick. But man, this dude, his efficiency, his use of angles, his ability to get that shot up over the arms, over the contest of anybody that's defending him, whether that be a guard, a wing, a big, he can get that shot off any way he wants to. And he can do it from inside the painted area. He can do it from just outside. He's a terrific finisher, and I love to see the season that he is having, and it's just been phenomenal. Like, there was one point in the game where he scored or assisted on, it felt like, every single basket out there. And one of the best things about his performance tonight, outside of the offensive production, was the work that he put in on the defensive end and on the glass. 5 rebounds, some of the offensive possessions that were generated from Ty Jerome tonight. When you look at the rebounding total as a whole for this team, it was staggering, right? But Ty Jerome himself would pull down 5 rebounds, 2 of them of the offensive variety. And by virtue of that, the combined efforts of the Cavaliers, they would end up scoring 31 second chance points to Memphis's 18. It just felt like they were working the glass heavily tonight. The stat sheet will tell you that they won the rebounding battle, I believe, 57-37. Now, I don't know what it is with some of these stat sites that you look at, because NBA.com says they pulled down 71 rebounds. We know that's not accurate. I think the accurate number is actually 57. But these dudes, these jokers, pulled down so many rebounds. That was really, really impressive. The team rebounding in general, it was phenomenal to watch tonight. They pulled down 14 offensive rebounds in the first half of this game, which actually ended up being the highest total that they have had all season long in a first half. And to be honest, it was quite uncharacteristic, right? Really, really uncharacteristic, because they entered tonight's game ranked just 22nd in that area this year, pulling down just 10.6 of those per game. And by grabbing 14, again, they pulled down the highest amount that they have pulled down in a first half all season. And if I'm not mistaken, 22 is actually their season high in that regard. So they just pulled down everything in sight, and it resulted in a great number of second chance opportunities and therefore second chance points. They were just locked in on that glass, which was great considering what I'm about to say next. Something that disgusted me tonight, right? We talked about what was impressive, but something that disgusted me tonight was the Cavs' inability to knock down the 3-point shot, which kept them from really just running away with this game. And early on at that, they began the game 2 of 4, but by the end of the first half, they shot a combined 4 of 26, guys. Donovan Mitchell had 3 of those by himself, which is no bueno. Max Strus was the only other Cavalier in that first half to drill a triple, but boy, oh boy, was it a big one as he knocked down a buzzer beater to close the half off of, wouldn't you know it, a Donovan Mitchell feed, who already knew it was going to go in based upon his reaction. So that was nice to see to close the half, but it really wouldn't get any better from a 3-point perspective for much of this game, as the Cavaliers would finish a combined 13 of 47 from 3-point range, which is good for 28%. Memphis, on the other hand, would shoot 38% from beyond the arc on a combined 15 of 39. They had some guys out there that were shooting the lights out. Luke Kennard, I know you guys all remember him, right? He shot 3 of 5 from 3-point range. Santi Aldama shot 3 of 6 from 3-point range. Jalen Wells, the rook, shot 4 of 7 from 3-point range. He had a couple of nice shots tonight. I got to give credit where credit is due in that regard, but they absolutely were able to stay in this game because they shot well and Cleveland did not. This game should have been a blowout, but Cleveland just failed to knock down their perimeter shots. Now, overall, both teams shot 46% from the field. Cleveland went 46 of 99 overall. Memphis went 42 of 92 overall. And that's something that, people are probably going to talk about at the end of the day. And this was just a dogfight of a game at times. But to be able to go out there and just gut one out without your starting point guard, who has been like the orchestrator of your offense all season long, is phenomenal. It says a lot about this Cavs team that they can adjust when needed, right? We already talked about the fact that Isaac Okoro drew the start at point, but Donovan Mitchell was really the one running the show. And then you look at that second unit, you have guys like Ty Jerome, who yet again finished with another 20-plus point game on, and this is something that he has been doing all season long. It's insane, the level of production that Ty Milk, and yes, that is what he is referred to over on Basketball Reference for those of you who are not familiar. He has finished this season game in and game out, just impacting on in multiple areas. Obviously, the points that he scores on a nightly basis, they definitely impact things, but he just finds little ways to be impactful out there, whether that be the deflections, whether that be the facilitation and playmaking, whether that be the rebounding in games where you wouldn't quite expect it. Tonight was actually Ty Jerome's 8th game of the season with at least 20 points. Something that I feel like has not happened in a long, long time for a Cavs player off the bench, right? He is filling a role that that many believed prior to this season probably would have gone to Caris LeVert. And Caris, he started the season off well. He's no longer in town, but with Caris no longer coming off the Cavalier bench, Ty Jerome is just fully unlocked, fully unleashed, and he has just taken the league by a storm. It has just been awesome, man. It's been awesome. It feels like that nothing can go wrong for Ty Jerome this year. And I absolutely loved what I saw out of him tonight. And you know what? It's just, there were a ton of things that happened tonight. Yeah, obviously, Ty Jerome was the star of the game alongside Donovan Mitchell, but you can't not talk about the play of Evan Mobley, who's just been phenomenal in his own right. Over Evan Mobley's last 5 games, he is averaging, this includes tonight, he is averaging 20.8 points, 11.8 rebounds, 4.8 assists, 2.6 blocks, 1.2 steals. He is shooting 58.9% from the field, includes a lackluster 22.2% from 3-point distance. Who gives a fuck? 70% from the charity stripe, and he's doing this in just 30.1 minutes per game. Evan Mobley has been fully unleashed under Kenny Atkinson. This man is out for blood. God help the opposition. We always said when Evan Mobley realizes that he can be the best player on this team, it's over for the league. And I feel like you are seeing that maturation, that process happening before your very eyes. It is happening right before your very eyes. And these last couple of games, these last 5 games have been really just a testament to that. Now, tonight, Evan would finish with 25 points, 13 rebounds, 8 assists. This man finished 2 assists shy of a triple-double tonight. He had 3 blocks, one of them coming on Jaren Jackson Jr., where he absolutely floored the guy. And you love to see that, especially with the Defensive Player of the Year award up for grabs. That was awesome. I felt like he absolutely just straight up schooled Triple J tonight. It started with that big time rejection where he floored him, and it kept going with a number of crafty finishes and dunks from our 7-footer. Now, I will admit this. Jaren Jackson Jr. did get him back for that block when he forced a jump ball on and subsequently won the jump, leading to a Jalen Wells triple on the other end. But it was a rough night for Jaren Jackson Jr. He would finish with 22 points in his 25 minutes of action. And the stat sheet is going to say that he was 9 of 18 from the field. But as we have become accustomed to from Jaren Jackson Jr., he was really, really at risk of fouling out. Evan Mobley had 1 foul tonight. Jaren Jackson Jr. had 5. Jaren Jackson Jr. is one of the most inefficient defenders in basketball in my regard. Like, this dude is such a let me roll. Let me take a step down, right? Jaren Jackson Jr. is not a bad defender at all. He is defensive player of the year material. But when it comes to efficiency, when it comes to hunting and chasing blocks, I just feel like Mobley is not the same type of player. I feel like Mobley is ethical hoops, and Jaren Jackson Jr. is just always constantly fouling motherfuckers out here. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. And I see a number of people in the chat saying that he held Mobley on that jump ball. I certainly feel like he did as well. But man, this was just such a phenomenal showdown. It was a good game overall. Credit where credit is due. The Grizzlies definitely played a tough game. There were things that definitely irritated me, i.e., the Desmond Bane and Donovan Mitchell dust up, where Donovan Mitchell is trying to, like, he has the ball in his hands. He's trying to get up off the floor, and Desmond Bane just basically dives at him, tries to steal the ball away from him. There's this skirmish where there are about 4 technicals handed out between Donovan Mitchell, Desmond Bane, Ja Morant, and I want to say Tristan Thompson, if I'm not mistaken. Double technicals handed out all the way around. But right after that skirmish, Max Strus comes down and he drills a triple on their asses, and that just continues to lead the way for the Cavaliers. But the chippiness just would not end there. The physicality being allowed in this game was definitely something that really was bemoaned at points, right? And it felt like, and don't get me wrong, I am not opposed to physical basketball. I am not opposed to seeing 2 teams get rough and physical with each other. It reminds me of the old 90s style basketball, early 2000s basketball. But at the end of the day, there were specific points tonight where I feel like, okay, if you're going to call it this way, you have to call it the same way for the other side. And there's far too many times tonight where I felt like Memphis was given the benefit of the doubt from the refs, and they did not give the Cavaliers that same benefit of the doubt that they gave the Grizzlies. It just felt at times like it wasn't being called fairly both ways. But you guys know how I feel about the refs, right? I never truly want to blame the refs for the outcome of games. And, thank goodness the Cavaliers scratched and called this one out, 129 to 123. But at the end of the day, I felt like the refs had a really, really huge influence on this game at times. There were literally free throws given out left and right in this one. And it goes both ways, right? Cleveland took 35 free throws. Memphis got 31. But I also feel like a lot of these calls and non-calls, frankly, could have easily turned the tide of a game either way. But man, such a phenomenal game throughout. And even though the Cavaliers as a team did not shoot well, Donovan Mitchell was really the only person out there that shot well from 3-point range, going 4 of 8. And Max Strus, 3 of 8 from 3-point range. He had a couple of really, really nice makes, really timely makes. The one, obviously, that stands out the most to me was the buzzer beater to end the first half. But he had 2 others that were really, really up there as well. And can you guys believe it? 1 of 8 from the 3-point line was Evan Mobley tonight. That's what draws down that 3-point percentage in that graphic that I showed earlier. But Evan Mobley took 8 triples tonight. And without Darius Garland out there, I guess somebody has to up those 3-point attempts in the in the starting lineup, right? Because Isaac Okoro is not one of those guys who's a high volume shooter, and Isaac played just 19 minutes tonight. And I thought that he did some decent things, but obviously he's not bringing the same level of impact to the table that Darius Garland is. So somebody has to pick up that 3-point shot making. Max Strus is only going to be able to do so much in that regard as well. But yeah, you have to get that production from somewhere, and Evan Mobley tried to step up and took a lot of those shots tonight. And then without Darius, you needed that additional ball handling. So you were able to turn to the likes of Ty Jerome, who again was just so damn phenomenal tonight. That patented floater that he is always working with. the contact that he draws, resulting in a ton of free throw attempts game in and game out. It doesn't, the stat sheet will not always show you that, but 5 of 6 from the line tonight. And I feel like he is able to draw contact rather easily with the way that he plays. And it's not ideal, the fouls that he picked up, because he did pick up 3 early fouls, but he rounded out really nicely in that second half. And that's really something that the Cavaliers have to navigate, or struggle to navigate at times, if you're missing a Darius Garland or you're missing a Donovan Mitchell. If your guy in Ty Jerome picks up early fouls, you have to turn to a Craig Porter Jr. or a Jalen Tyson, or you give Max Strus extra ball handling duties, or Isaac Okoro, who's you don't want to truly rely upon to bring that to the equation. But it was really nice to see Ty Jerome kind of turn things around in that second half. And so credit to him. Major credit to him. And in that regard, right, you look at up and down this Cavaliers bench, one of the things that really impressed me tonight was the play of DeAndre Hunter, who was involved early as a driver. And that's nice, considering that most of the production that we had seen from him lately was coming from beyond the arc. He entered the game 13 of 21 from distance in his first 4 games as a Cavalier. And I've said this a number of times now, having that big wing who can create for themselves should pay dividends come the playoffs. Everybody wants to talk about wing defense and having that big ass wing out there that can defend the likes of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and being able to have that defensive versatility to go out there and defend even guards like a Jalen Brunson, right? Or Derek White. But at the end of the day, having wing creation is a very overlooked thing, and he brings that to the table. We saw him hit step back, pull up mid-range shots. We saw him attempt above the break threes. We saw him get active on the glass. And one thing that was really underrated about what we saw from him tonight was his ability to handle. Whether that be bringing the ball up the floor, which he did on numerous occasions, or just generally in the half court, making plays for others. And I know that the assist numbers for Hunter are never something that are going to wow you. He did finish with just 2 points tonight, but he has started to look more and more comfortable as a ball handler with the Cavaliers. And I think as you're having him come off the bench, and these are his, numbers, by the way, right? 13.4 points over his first 5 games as a Cavalier, 3.6 rebounds, 47.8% from the field, including 52% from 3-point range. He did fail to knock down all 4 of his triples tonight, but he's still shooting above 50% from distance. He's hitting 83.3% from the charity stripe. That gives him a true shooting percentage of 65.3%. He has a grand total of plus 27, and he's done all this in 24.2 minutes per game, mostly coming off the bench for the Cavaliers. And that, after tonight's victory, leads him to a perfect 5-0 start to his Cleveland Cavalier tenure, which I absolutely love to see. But yeah, having DeAndre available to you as yet another ball handling option when you don't have Darius out there, somebody who can legitimately create offense for himself, not necessarily so much for others, but can create offensive looks and opportunities for himself, can pay dividends. If you got a guy in foul trouble, or you got a guy who's injured or out in a Darius and Donovan or Ty or some of your other ball handlers. But DeAndre Hunter is certainly capable of doing that, and having him come off the bench, that's good, right? Because the Cavaliers easily could have pivoted on their game plan tonight and slid Donovan Mitchell over to the point. They could have put Max Strus at the 2 and Hunter at the 3, or they could have started Isaac Okoro at the 2 and had Max come off the bench and inserted Hunter. There's a number of different things that they could have done. Hell, they could have started Ty Jerome tonight, which broadcasting made mention of. But I think that without a true third big, because right now you're heavily reliant upon the rotation of Evan Mobley, DeAndre Hunter, and Dean Wade to give you minutes at your backup 4. And it is a rotation of Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen essentially at backup 5 until you get that solidified. And who knows what will end up happening with that. But I think that it still makes a ton of sense to have DeAndre Hunter come off the bench until you can figure out a long-term game plan. And the beauty of it all is that Hunter can be impactful whether he is coming off the bench or whether he's starting. And I think that is one of the best parts about having DeAndre Hunter in Cleveland. So as a life on the cross says down here, we don't need Hunter to score 20 a night. We needed his versatility and consistency, and he is. Exactly. You don't necessarily need him to put up 20, but it is good to know that he can. It is good to know that he can give you another guy that can create out on the wing. And he has been consistent since coming to Cleveland. Again, shooting over 50% from three-point distance, shooting over 60% or 40%, damn near close to 50% from the field. And he has been consistent when getting to the line, hitting above 80% of his free throws. And the defense, right? The defensive field goal attempts, when they come out tomorrow, I'm not sure it's going to favor him all that well. And it hasn't so far since he's come to Cleveland, but you can tell that his impact is clearly felt in that regard. There are multiple possessions where he has either locked down his opponent, his primary matchup, or he's made a play. So damn the stats in that regard. You do have to go with a combination of both the eye test and the statistical production. But I have very much enjoyed what I have seen from DeAndre Hunter in these first 5 games, just as much as I have enjoyed what I have seen from Ty Jerome all season long. Reuniting these two UVA products, probably one of the best things that Kobe Altman has ever done. It just, when you look at what he gave up to acquire DeAndre Hunter, juxtaposed to what, let's say, the Knicks gave up for Mikal Bridges and all those first round picks. Phenomenal. And the fact that New York is being run into the ground by Tom Thibodeau yet again in terms of their starting 5, it just makes you feel even better, because DeAndre Hunter is not somebody you're going to have to give heavy minutes to, leading to him breaking down come the playoffs. He played just 25 tonight. He's averaging just over 22, I think, on this season, 24.2%, 24.2 minutes per game in 5 games since he's come to Cleveland. So right along that line. And I think that is a good amount of minutes considering how deep this Cavaliers rotation is. So it's just awesome. And Cleveland, essentially, even with Darius Garland out tonight, they still technically went with a 10-man rotation. I guess 9 if you're really getting specific, because Craig Porter Jr. as that 10th man played just 5 minutes tonight. And a lot of that was due to the fact that, 1, you're already down Darius, and 2, Ty Jerome got into early foul trouble. You would finish the game with 4, but he had 3 pretty early into the game. Craig Porter Jr. did step in and, only play 5 minutes or so, but it just shows you the amount of depth that this team has. They can withstand one of their major rotation pieces, one of their stars being out for a couple of games here and there. And while it sucked, as D Jackson kind of points out down here, there was no garbage time played tonight. So you did not get to see newly acquired Cavalier Javonte Green, he was on the active roster tonight. He could have played, but he did not. Probably too early in this process, as the Cavaliers are trying to get him acclimated to the offense and defense. Did not get any Naquan Tomlin tonight, who, if I'm not mistaken, suited up for the Cleveland Charge earlier on, but I think he was on the active roster as well. It sucked that you didn't get those guys. No Jalen Tyson, right? But at the end of the day, I'll take a W over all else, because this was a playoff caliber opponent, a team that many people expect to be a top 6 seed when the dust settles. And I think that is exactly what we are going to see. Cleveland, on the other hand, I was hoping that New York would have been able to get the job done and beat Boston, giving Cleveland a little bit more separation. But at the end of the day, they're keeping pace. If Boston wins and Cleveland wins, they gain no ground. And that's exactly what happened tonight. Something else that was phenomenal, and I posted the clip on Twitter here pretty recently, was Ja Morant trying to block Jarrett Allen at the rim on a dunk attempt that resulted in an and one, and then proceeded to give him a hug. I posted Ja on Ja crime or JA on JA crime, because phenomenal. Every time just as a side note, every time I say JA or every time I post JA on social media, people seem to believe that I'm referring to Ja Morant, but obviously I'm referring to Jarrett Allen. But I thought that whole sequence was hilarious because sometimes this results in a scuffle when you have something occur like this, when a guy gets posterized. And it happened right as the shot clock was expiring. But to see Ja Morant kind of laugh the whole thing off and just give him a hug and smile, both of them were smiling. That was pretty awesome because it was a wholesome moment at the end of the day when you already had some chippiness occurring in this game. And I think you kind of needed that to balance things out so guys wouldn't get too testy and you wouldn't have some more skirmishes happening. But that was one of the more fun sequences that we saw tonight. But again, this was definitely a chippy game. And despite that occurring, Cleveland stood their ground. They absolutely stood the ground for every physical play that happened tonight. Cleveland kind of returned fire. Like one sequence tonight that I absolutely enjoyed because we already referred to Bane, Desmond Bane and Donovan Mitchell kind of getting into it. Not too much after that happened, you had a sequence when Dean Wade, right? He presents a nice contest. I think it was Vince Williams, he contests Vince Williams' shot. Williams gets up the court to Desmond. Well, Sam Merrill gets the ball off of Dean Wade's rebound and immediately proceeds to run right through Desmond Bane, kind of stiff arming him to the ground. And although that was called an offensive foul, I loved that sequence because it just showed you these guys, right? If you try and give them some shit, and be physical with them, they will return fire. They will go out there and put you on your ass. And I think that is something that come the playoffs, you really, really want to see that ratcheted up. You want to see these guys get physical. And that coming from Sam Merrill, a guy that a lot of people still think is not really a great defender and doesn't offer anything outside of that 3-point shot and when it's not falling. And by the way, he had a timely triple tonight. But at the end of the day, seeing that physicality play out across the board, that's pretty damn awesome. And this is another W over a playoff opponent, another quality victory without one of your stars at that. So that was really awesome. With tonight's victory, if I'm not mistaken, the Cavaliers have moved to 47-10, if my math is correct. I am not the best at math. I should clarify that. But yes, another victory tonight. They continue to add separation between themselves in the rest of the Eastern Conference. And with 57 total games played, I think we are down now to 25 games left on the season. And we know what we got coming up. It is not going to get any easier for this Cleveland Cavaliers team. But I think that as time goes on, and the Cavaliers continue to create more separation for themselves, you're going to see them start to rest some of their big rotation pieces. And that will open the doorway for some of your end of bench pieces to see daylight. So we will have to see, man. You got some really tough matchups coming up, but I enjoyed thoroughly this game tonight. And it was really, really awesome to see. As I always tell you guys, if you like to reach out to me, now you can. It's Cavalier_pod on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and more. If you want to be added to the It's Cavalier Discord chat, you know what to do. Leave a rating, leave a review, send a screenshot, etc. review to It's Cavalier53@gmail.com, and I will send you an invite. If you want to support the podcast in a small but helpful way, consider becoming a member over on Patreon. The link will be in the description of the pod, both audio and video. As always, go Cavs.